I'm Heather Simmons, and I'm going to be talking a wee bit about the values of inclusion. The values of inclusion have been some ideas that I've been working with for a long time now, probably at least 17 years, in trying to make sense of what it means to work with people in a person-centred way. They're a collection of, I suppose, quite cute little sound bites, little slogans that you might be able to have trip off your tongue quite easily, but each one of them contains a really, really valuable truth, and a deep truth, I think, that helps us think about how we work well and support people with disabilities well, and also how we work with people to bring the best out of them. So I think what I'll do is just go through them one at a time and maybe say a wee bit about each of the values as they come. The values of inclusion start by making this really bold statement that says everyone is born in. Lots of people hear this and they think that what we're saying is that everyone's born equal, but we're not saying that. We're saying that from the moment that we know that from the moment that you're born, your life chances are radically affected depending on where you were born, how well your mother was while she was pregnant, depending on your gender, depending on how much money your family has. What we're saying is that everyone is born in, and what you're born into is a common humanity. You're born with skin and hair, you've got red blood flowing through your veins. Everyone is born human, everyone is born into mankind, humankind. That's a really important place to start from. People with disabilities are human. They're the same as you and I. The next of the values says that all means all. I find this the most challenging one. It's the one that's most like a presidential slogan, all means all. I remember hearing Marsha Forrest say, "Which part of all don't you understand?" And being too scared to tell her which part I didn't understand, just agreeing with her. But that statement, all means all, is like, an explosion when you start thinking about it in your head. Really? All means all? Everyone? Even the people I don't like? Even the people I disagree with? Even the people that I think have done absolutely shocking things? Am I saying that all means all? Everyone should be included? And I think I end up saying, yes, we have to be. There are lots of examples from the world that we live in of people who have been excluded for one reason or another and who've got mad about it and have taken their anger out on the rest of the people. I think people being in is much safer than having them outside and angry. So it makes sense for us to spend a lot of time thinking about what it would take for all to mean all, to bring in some of the most difficult people, some of the most challenging and distressed people, and find a place for them in our communities. It's hard to think about it if you think about them in terms of groups, but if you can think about George or Thomas or Elaine, then you can begin to figure out how they can be in with all of their foibles and idiosyncrasies and challenges and distresses. The only thing that I can say about all means all is that I'm not there yet. My thinking is so far away from that. I know that I've got lines. There are lines that I draw and I think, not with those people. I don't want to be in with those people. But I think it's worth knowing your lines, so that, and understanding that those lines are your prejudices, so that when they come along and you're making declarative statements about who can be in and who can be out, you understand that you're working from a place of prejudice. And the only thing I think that you can do is to be committed to trying to think about it differently and push the envelope a bit further. The next of the values says that everyone needs to be in, and what we're talking about here is, I think, actual physical presence within our communities and within our society. It's not enough for people to not be able to access buildings, not to be able to get to the bank, withdraw their own money from the machine, not to be able to ride the buses and the trains and so on. That's an infringement of people's civil rights. We should be irate about that. And when you think about this one, it's quite an interesting one, because this is a bit of an investment in your old age. One of the things that we all hope, or most of us hope, is that we'll live for a long time. And quite often with old age comes increasing infirmity. So we got a campaign for those accessible buildings now and for those self-opening doors, so that when we're an old lady or an old gentleman with our shopping and our stick and our Zimmer frame, we can get in through the door without being too much of a hassle. The idea of everyone being in actually benefits all of us. What's good for people with disabilities in that respect benefits mums with buggies and toddlers, benefits me if I've got a suitcase, or a heavy bag to carry. Everyone needs to be in, everyone needs to be able to be in the places where other people are. But it's not enough just to be physically present. We know that relationships and networks of relationships are as important for people to feel that they're included. We know that a rich life is one that has lots of different kinds of relationships. One of the things that's happened to us as we've closed the institutions and we've talked about people living more independently is that we have people living quite lonely, isolated lives in little ghettos at the end of cul-de-sacs. They still don't meet their neighbours, they still don't use their local shops, they don't know the people around about them. So being with other people is every bit as important as being in. This next value is one that I absolutely love. Everyone's ready. People are ready just to grab their life and live it now. I'm always struck by the thought that if I had to wait until I passed O-grade maths before I was able to leave school, if that was an indication of my readiness, I'd still be there now. If I had to wait till I could balance a checkbook, I'd still be there, waiting for my life to start. But nobody bothered about that for me. They thought, on you go, Heather, make your mistakes, it'll be cool. I know people who have wasted years of their life trying to pass random tests that somehow people thought would indicate their readiness to live their lives. And when those people have been released from that, they've grabbed the opportunity to live with both hands and made a really good job of it. They might not have been able to tie their shoelaces, but they've certainly known how to put their Velcro trainers on. Lots of people talk about independence. There's a myth of independence around. I don't know anyone who is completely independent. The truth is that every single one of us needs support. I used to work as a freelance consultant and I would travel around the country in the UK. I lived at home with my parents and they supported my lifestyle. I would get up on a Monday morning and drive to wherever it was I was going, come back on a Friday, put my dirty washing in the machine, and then the fairies would come over the weekend. My mother would produce my washing, my ironing, ready for me to pack it up again. My mother and father were like a sweatshop for old age pensioners. They put training packs together for me, they did messages for me, they ran errands. But I would have told you that I was an independent professional woman. The fact is all of us need support, and there are people or there are things that are supporting all of us most of the time. The difference really is in the level of support you need, the kinds of things that you need the support with, and the length of time it goes on for. Everyone can learn. The number of times that I have had this demonstrated to me in my career working with people with disabilities has just been countless. I think that one of the things we're not so good at is thinking about what we teach people. We teach them to pass these stupid tests, like learning to tie your shoelaces. Whereas if we taught them about how to operate the microwave and how to work the TV and the DVD player, how to catch the bus and go into town and watch the football game, how to fill in their football coupon or fill in their footy tips, they absolutely would learn that fast as. So it's not that people can't learn, it's just that we're not smart about what we teach them. Everyone can learn. Everyone can contribute. The idea of contribution is a really interesting one. People seem to think that contribution is just about lovely things, and it's true that when you walk into a room and somebody smiles at you and their smile just lights up the room and it makes your day, that's great. That is a contribution. But some of the most significant contributions that I've had in my life working with people with disabilities is when I've been with someone who has taken me absolutely to the edge of my patience and has made me think about what I'm going to do next and who I am in relation to that person. That's been a massive contribution to my learning. So one of the tasks, I think, is for us to begin to see contribution differently. If we look for it in traditional ways, we might be stymied. But if we're open to see all sorts of things as contributions, we will most certainly find them. Everyone can communicate. Just because people don't use words to speak doesn't mean that they have nothing to say. And right at this moment, there are people who are literally bouncing off the walls trying to tell people something. I think it's Dave Hinsberger who talks about some people being in a linguistic minority of one. What he means is that George is the only person who speaks George. The job for the rest of us is to learn George, to understand that when his eyebrow raises in that particular way, he means get out of my way and get out fast. That when his mouth twitches in that corner, he's saying, I'd like a drink. I'd like you to come and sit beside me. Everyone can communicate. We need to get smarter at learning their languages. And the last of the values of inclusion says that together we're better. We're not saying that a world where there is no disability or difference is a better world. We actually think that the richness, the diversity, the differences add up to a richer, fuller life. More opportunities for us to be our best selves. More opportunities to see other people flourish. Together we're better. The values of inclusion are great little sound bites holding profound truths. They're no good unless you put them into practice. But if you learn them and you practice them and you look for them, they'll help you see and understand and hold on to things that are really important about the work that we do and our relationships with people. Thanks very much for that.